hosting this show with us.
All right, I'm going to hit go live here on YouTube, and then we're going to do a perfectly normal thing that productions all over the place do. I'm going to count down so everybody knows. This is for everybody out in the audience, not for anybody who's hosting the show. I'm going to count down. There's going to be a brief pause, and then we're going to start the music, and that's how we're going to officially start the show. So here we go in 3, 2. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you live from the internet in a couple of different places on video. You've got YouTube. On video, you've got Crowdcast. And on audio, you've got iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, the app of your choice. But later on...
Seems like too many to list.
And I am as always, I'm broadcasting my hologram to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the place of my birth, just to be there. Come witness the hologram.
Your basement does not look like Florida.
No, he's broadcasting to there. There is an audience of alligators down in Fort Lauderdale that are called JT Alligators.
The JT Gators.
JT Gators. They're all wearing shirts and everything, which is hard to fit for an alligator, but they're having a great time.
I pay someone to throw like some chum in their mouths, and then it's just me talking shit about comics.
Speaking of the Gator crew, how was your Father's Day?
What?
Oh, sorry. You guys have never seen my children. They are part gator.
Right.
Right.
I was born in Florida, so I, of course, married an alligator. And how was Father's Day? Good.
Yeah.
I just had a normal, average Sunday.
It seemed like you got drunk with your friends.
That's what it was. That is what I did.
Yeah, that's a fun Sunday.
Normal, average Sunday for me circa 15 years ago. It was great.
And Pete, do you have anything coming up over the next couple of weeks that are interesting on your end? Anything going on with you?
Unfortunately, I don't have children of my own. But how was your Father's Day?
Oh, don't have children of your own? That seems like that could really free you up to take some really interesting trips in the next 2 weeks or so.
Oh,
let's hope so. Let's hope so.
You don't know if you are?
Did you get drunk by yourself, Zelbs, or what did you do?
No, I went out with my family and my parents, and we had a really nice, relaxing day. It was just one day of that versus a whole week of relaxing in, say, some sort of upstate spa or something like that.
Wow. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Would you ever want to try anything like that, Pete?
That seems
go on an upstate spa trip for a week?
But, I think for you, it sounds great.
It doesn't seem like Pete, and that's why if it were happening, it would be super noteworthy. You know what I mean? Worth noting. That's what noteworthy means.
I would like, also, we got a correction. I am a cat dad, so that counts. Thank you, Aaron.
And how was it with your cats for Father's Day? Did they give you a dead, decapitated mouse? Like
I wish. No, I only have one cat, and it still was a pain in my ass, but it was nice.
Another great question. What did Pip get me, Justin?
Yeah.
What did Pip get me? And he, as usual, just stared at me with bug eyes for 6 to 8 hours all day long.
Don't slip. Pip, don't slip. Not even a little bit.
He does not slip. That's his gift to me, is never slipping.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Now, as we have been doing the past couple of weeks, I do want to make a shout out here at the beginning of the show to the drink of the show as picked by our official chef, Brett Macris.
Stray Bullies.
Again, from the Gotham City Cocktails Cookbook by Andre Darlington. This week we're drinking the Early Bird, which is very delicious, very refreshing. It's supposed to be served at the Iceberg Lounge.
Penguins. Penguins high-end crime lounge.
And as you know, penguins love grapefruit juice, which this is mostly fresh squeezed grapefruit juice.
Wow.
It's very, and penguins are like, I wish we could get that stuff, but it's hard. You want what you can't have.
Exactly.
Right.
But here's something that we do have. What we do have is some amazing guests.
Hey, that works out
on the show.
They're
today.
The grapefruit juice of our show.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to invite the first two guests into the stream here. They are the creators of a new book coming out from Dark Horse on June 30th called Everyone is Tulip. That is weird, wild, trippy, totally awesome, and I'm very excited to share maybe a little bit of it with you. We have Nicole in the stream here and waiting for Dave to come in, but while we're waiting for that, Dave was rejected.
Oh
no,
what did he
Dave.
do?
Oh my God.
What did Dave do?
I'm not sure.
What did you
There
do
he
to
is.
Dave?
Hey, there we
He's
go.
I
alive.
made it.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm very excited to talk about this book. Again, it's coming out June 30th, the trade paperback, I believe, from Dark Horse. Really loved the approach of it, the look of it, everything about it. I'm a little hesitant to talk about it just because it is coming out in a week, so I don't want to spoil anything. But why don't you guys give the pitch? Why don't you tell people what the book is about and how it started to come together?
Yeah, sure. So it's a 200-page graphic novel written by me, illustrated by Nicole, and the colorist Ellie Hall. And it is about a young girl from Arizona who moves to Los Angeles to try and become an actor and then gets sucked up into the high-stakes world of YouTube performance art, which is a real thing.
That's what we're doing right now. We're streaming to YouTube, and we consider this.
We're involved in the low stakes world of YouTube.
Right. Yeah. So that's the cover right there. And basically the main character, Becca, she gets cast in this part playing a character in these viral videos where she plays this character Tulip, who's this kind of like weird otherworldly fashion character. So every video is her looking at camera and saying everyone is Tulip wearing these exorbitant extreme couture outfits. And these videos kind of capture the public imagination, and it forces Tulip and the kind of little cadre of people around her that are making these videos to have internal dialogues about like, how far are you willing to go? You know, how far are you willing to take this? Like, are you willing to sell out to a massive corporation? Are you willing to risk it all for artistic integrity? So that the book is kind of about interrogating these themes of how far would you go to be able to get what you want. And it's a small ensemble cast, but primarily shown through the kind of journey that Becca goes through the seedy underbelly of the interwebs.
Oh God, we're living there right now. We're in our own little boxes here. I do want to sort of an observation that it seems like such an obvious detail to me, but it's so smart. Like the panel structure, you do a lot of 9-panel pages that mirror the cell phone.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
It seems so small, but I hadn't seen that before, and I think going from that to sort of the more wide panel stuff, I think it really gives you that sort of in and out of the digital world experience that I think is just so smart.
Thank you.
How did that come about?
Well, Nicole and I have been talking about this book for a long time, and that we're both very interested in the visual language of comics, and that cell phone thing. Our books usually tend to be a kind of organic development process where I'm kind of, usually like, what if we did this weird comics language thing? And then Nicole's kind of like, oh yeah. And then it could factor into this theme in the story. So maybe I'll hand it off to you, Nicole, and you can talk more about how we developed the cell phone thing.
Yeah, so we actually started doing the cell phone mechanic in our previous book. It's called Fuck Off Squad, which is a kind of coming of age skater kid comic. And we realized that the shape of a cell phone, or most people's cell phones now, is almost exactly the same size as one panel in a 9-panel grid. And so I think we did like one page that had that cell phone mechanic in the last book, and we realized that was a really interesting and relevant way to kind of show communication through cell phones. And then when we started making this book, and it was so much about the internet and so much about being on your phones anyway, we really were able to work that in, kind of thread that through the whole book. And as you can see on this page, we do these alternating diamond shapes or X shapes with the phone versus, narrative panels that really kind of like are a metronome of kind of the moments that are happening in the story.
I was really impressed with the layering of the art. There are certain panels that are just so beautiful, but the coloring choices also is telling like a lot of story. And this panel, I love the light that hits Becca's face there. it's really impressive, and also like what's happening above, like where like the ads would be on the subway. Can you just talk about like, because you guys are really doing a great job of like training my eye how to read this comic as I can artistically. It feels like it's really leading the way. Can you talk about your collab and how you did that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, go for it, Nicole.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think one of the reasons, like, we've been talking about this book a little bit on some podcasts because, we're trying to get the word out about our comic that is distinctly not Hellboy, right?
And
Good
great
point.
subtitle.
It's a good point.
Great subtitle.
Yeah. It was going to be a Hellboy title at first.
It was going to be Hellboy, and then it's not.
And then it wasn't.
Hellboy.
Yeah. But I think in the book there are these kind of themes that are in dialogue with one another. There's this idea of kind of like artistic reappropriation. There's this idea of kind of compromise or like personal integrity, and what are you willing to do to get what you want. And then there's also this idea of just how the internet kind of impacts people and warps situations, right? And all of those narrative DNA strands have a visual component to it. Like the internet stuff is usually represented by this kind of teal blue color. So whenever there's something that's digital that appears, either the character is wearing that color, or the background is that color, or literally the phone is making that color. And those are all things that, Nicole and I and our colorist Ellie Hall, who did a wonderful job on the book.
Agreed.
She and Nicole designed the color palette, and they both really just like breathed life into the thing. And so but all of those choices were made very intentionally to try and make a manicured or curated experience in the way that we wanted the book to kind of be a reflection of the subject matter, because people online are always curating their persona, and they're always not showing you certain parts of their lives that might be a little jagged or hard edged or problematic or just not easy to swallow, And so we wanted the book to have those elements that would almost kind of come out of nowhere, right? Like you would be reading it and it would be a very specific, almost metronome-like style. And then the way the panels are presented to you shifts depending on what is happening in the story. This is I'm trying to talk around some stuff because I'm not trying to spoil anything.
And I appreciate it because I think it's you don't want to spoil it, but if I can jump on that, like the metronome or sort of the pacing, that everyone is Tulip as a mantra that keeps recurring. Mm-hmm. Like it is, you're sort of experiencing as a reader the way the internet sort of changes our brains in some ways. Yeah. I felt, and that sort of then you're getting it on so many layers. So that's nice.
Yeah, and that's all Nicole and Ellie. Like, it's one thing for me to be like, I got this idea for a 9-panel grid.
Yeah.
And then for them to like execute it at the level that they did, I think is very, very, very impressive.
And I don't know if I'd use the word all, but
And before you start a project like that, do you guys like sit down to discuss? Like, at what point would you be like, "Hey, like this is too much"?
I'm just start turning out pages.
Yeah.
Do you guys sit down and talk about the internet, or
like how much you are into it, how deep you are, and like what
big fan of the internet? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I used to really be into the internet, but then I kind of drifted away.
Mm-hmm.
After Jeff Bezos left Amazon, I was just like, "This is so over."
You're a
huge Bezos fan. Huge
Bezos head all the way,
dude. Baze
for days, we always say.
I'm getting into space now since that's where he's going. That's all I care about.
This is something that we talk about quite a bit in different aspects here on the podcast, but I'm curious to get your take on it because it's obviously very relevant here. The internet moves very quickly and changes very quickly. The pace of comic books is much slower than that. How did you embrace that with the book? Because I do think reading it does feel very relevant. It does feel very timely, but were there things you had to tweak, change, whittle, either from the writing or the art perspective to make sure that by the time it came out, it would still feel of the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's little things here and there, and you're right. The internet is incredibly fast-paced, and from the time we started this, where we were really focusing more on kind of these YouTubers and You know, things like
Tube.
Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, and Dalvita and Poppy and all these kinds of people, where now the conversation has actually shifted a little bit, where it's less YouTube and more TikTok, but all of the kind of themes and ideas and realities of the way that your life can change from being a regular person to all of a sudden overnight becoming viral, all of that stuff is still the same. So it's not like YouTube's gone away. So all of the things that we were dealing with essentially 5 years ago, because we started talking about this in 2017, all of that stuff is still kind of relevant. And yeah, we made some tweaks here and there and little things to kind of keep it updated. But I've been working on it on and off the whole time. So, you know, I was drawing another book kind of in the middle of it. But we were able to continue the work and the progress on it because it wasn't like we finished this 2 years ago and it's just been sitting around. We've been working on it the whole time, and you can kind of shift things this way and shift it that way, you know.
You're like, I think the apps have changed, but it's still fucked up in the same way. So I think we're going to be good here.
Yeah.
Well, my brain is significantly more fucked up at this point because I 5 years ago I was barely on Twitter, and now I have like a full-blown addiction. And you know, I don't even really do TikTok. I do TikToks through Instagram, so just like it's bad. I'm old.
Oh God! If you're old, I don't even want to think about us then.
Yeah,
Pete has no idea what we're talking about right now. He's still stuck on whether you staple the pages together as they come out of the printing press.
Right. Yeah.
Printing press. Nicole, I loved how you got exhausted when you said TikTok through Instagram. You're just like, I don't know what I'm.
I mean, there's a point at which I should probably just download TikTok, but I'm like, I don't need another app. I'm already on there all the time. But it's like, I'm already on there all the time. I should just do it. It's fine.
Yeah. So just to keep going on the art perspective, I mean, we saw, if you're watching live, you saw this a little bit at the beginning, but there are so many different outfits that the main character goes through. How did you tackle those? Did you create those whole cloth? Did you base them on other things? How did you even begin?
It's exclusively on my wardrobe.
Wow!
Yeah.
Dave dresses every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Very specifically, you are Tulip.
He modeled for all those drawings. I have photos on my computer.
Completely.
That's beautiful. What a wonderful collaboration.
Release the photos. Release the photos.
Yeah.
Release the Dave's wardrobe cut.
Yeah.
Bad
just as valid.
Joke.
Just as valid as the Snyder cut.
It's longer though. It's just like 9 hours of me slow motion throwing an arrow into a pyre.
It's like an Andy Warhol movie, but for Dave's wardrobe.
Yep.
Wow.
Time is no longer a barrier, Dave. Let's keep it going.
Well, you have great taste in clothing, I guess. Congrats, Dave. I mean, there's some really banging outfits in this thing.
I mean, my favorite is the one with the chair for a hat. I love that one so much. I feel like I just completely derailed Nicole's eloquent answer, though. I was just like, I'm going to be dumb. Hey!
Well, that's the concept
Welcome
of the show.
to the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
it's
Nicole.
Nothing groundbreaking. It's a combination. The answer is it's some of it's from my imagination, some of it's from doing a bunch of research on haute couture runway shows, some of it's directly inspired by some of these YouTubers who are making stuff, and so I just kind of took bits and pieces from all these places and mushed them together, and then tried every like couple I'd get bored, I'd be like, what's the weirdest thing I can think of now? It was just as far as I could push my imagination to do these strange outfits. It's funny because we got our artist copies this week, and it's been a while since I really sat down and looked at the book.
Ooh,
yes, there it is. It's so beautiful.
in person.
It's shiny.
Wow, book form.
So cool.
But I hadn't looked at most of those drawings in a while, and I was going through being like, some of these are really weird and funny and dumb.
Good.
That's great. Yeah, that's what I like about it. It feels like, and that's what the internet is like. It all goes in different little pockets. So the way that you guys sort of visualize that, I think, is very on point.
Yeah, you should see the script for that shit. It's just like, point 1, everyone is Tulip. I don't know, draw whatever you want. Point 2, everyone is Tulip. I don't know, draw whatever you want.
Copy paste.
I think it's more like a nice panel grid of Tulip.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's literally like that.
Seems like she did all the work, man.
Yeah, I mean there are components where I pulled my weight. That was not one of them. That was one where I would
do all of this here.
You do this. Yeah.
So I have an extraordinarily dumb question to ask, and I think probably the answer is sort of it straddles the line, but do you like this sort of art? Like the sort of art that they're doing in the book, the everyone is Tulip thing. Obviously it's going to be very divisive. Some people are like it, some people are not, and I'm sure part of the book is interpreting how you feel about it, but I was curious if you could speak about that at all.
I'll let Nicole go first, and then
I think there are versions of it that I really like. And the reason that we made this book is because we were watching these YouTubers and we're kind of fascinated, A, by the content that we're making, and B, what are the lives of the people who make this stuff. And so, yeah, there's, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is amazing. The Poppy stuff is really interesting. There's a couple other people. And then there's, the other version of it, which is, the TikTok, Bella Porch thing, where it's like literally a girl just like, like what are you saying with that? You're not saying anything, or maybe not saying anything is the point. And there are reads on these things that make it more interesting if you want to dig deep. And then sometimes it's really just like there's a TikToker that ends up on my wall a lot who her whole shtick is just look at me being disheveled and a normal person. That's the entire thing. She doesn't have anything to say, really. She doesn't have any, message for any of her stuff. It's just, look, I'm normal like you. I didn't put on makeup today.
Yeah, it's almost like there's like a whole genre of, intimacy porn, where it's just, people being like, look, these are my stretch marks. Look, I have, belly fat. Look, I have pimples. Look, I have whatever the thing is that they have. And it's a weird world where people are commoditizing their own faults to make everybody else feel better that they have faults, which inherently makes their faults this weird thing that we're all covetous of. It's very strange.
Right. Whoa.
And I think there's value to that. Do I enjoy watching it? It depends on who it is and what they're making,
Right. That whole thing feels like the overcorrection of the like we were talking about earlier, the perfection of Instagram, curated Instagram feeds, and it's like now we're fetishizing sort of the faults. It's like we need to find a middle ground here, maybe, where it's just fine to be.
And then you even have people like the one that's very interesting to me, and I'm curious to see, kind of almost morbidly curious to see where her story goes, is Belle Delphine, who, if anybody doesn't know, is a e-girl who got really, 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 really famous, millions and millions of people on Instagram. And she has this kind of gamer girl persona where she wears bunny ears, and she's very physically attractive. And then she started getting all of these guys sexually harassing her online. And so, which sucks. It sucks.
Go away, douches.
But then the interesting thing is what she did with that is she started monetizing that sexual harassment by making an OnlyFans, where her OnlyFans was almost the opposite of a normal OnlyFans, where she was negging dudes, where she would dump cereal on her chest and pretend that it's obvious what that is supposed to look like, right?
Right.
But it's this thing where she's using her own sexual agency to make fun of the men who are simping. Yeah. And then her story gets even more interesting because she starts making so much money on OnlyFans, literally $1 million a month on OnlyFans, that she then starts doing actual hardcore pornography, which is it's this really weird, circuitous, kind of sort of what our book is about, where it's this thing where you just keep getting sucked in deeper and deeper and deeper. No sexual puns intended.
Nice.
where you start losing your boundaries, and you start losing the North Star of why you were even doing this in the first place.
Yeah. And chasing the next thing, and then sometimes the next thing is well, I didn't see that coming.
And sometimes the next thing is so much money you can set you and your family up for the rest of your life. But you also probably won't be able to hold a normal job ever again. So it's this weird, like, and I don't give a shit if people want to do sex work. I think that's great. I think that should be legalized everywhere. It's not a big deal. I don't think it's a big fucking thing. But it does have social trappings, which our culture is still reckoning with. Which is it's really interesting, and why I kind of said morbidly curious to see where this story goes, because it really feels like she's kind of almost like on the bleeding edge of culture in this weird way. Like, she sold her bathwater for $25 like a jar.
Oh yes, now I am familiar
That's
with that.
That's the thing that you could click into.
Justin's like, oh right, I have a bunch of it right here.
I'm trying to fill a bathtub.
Susan, I love her.
It's the only way you can do it.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, all of this is, the internet has just fundamentally changed the way we live our lives, to the degree that it's almost like most people's lives now have become this like searching and foraging for experiences to document, to post online so other people can be jealous of the experiences they're having, not actually living their lives and having a subjective human experience,
Mm-hmm.
That's why I just stay on Zoom calls and crowdcasts like this.
You and me both, baby.
Yeah.
Before we let you guys go, everybody should check out the book on June 30th. You've worked together before. You've worked together on this. This is finally coming out, not to push you onto the next thing, but is there anything beyond Everyone is Tulip that you guys are working on, or that people should check out from you together or separately?
Yes, so our next book together is called Forest Hills Bootleg Society, and it's coming out from Simon & Schuster in 2022, I think summer probably. We don't have a release date yet, but it is about a group of high school girls who, in 2005, who decide to start selling bootleg hentai to their very Christian classmates at their Christian school in the middle of nowhere, California, and all of the kind of logistics and relationship stuff that goes along with basically running a black market business in their school.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's so cool. I'll definitely look for that. And everybody should check out Everyone is Tulip. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking. We'll check you out on Instagram/TikTok, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. See you in the deep internet, gang.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Great talking to you.
All right. Once again,
so cool.
That was Dave Baker and Nicole Goux from Everyone is Tulip. As we mentioned, June 30th from Dark Horse. It's great. I loved it. The art's great. The writing's great.
I mean, it was like, just looking, I mean, we read so many comics. It was just really nice to see how much thought went into not only like the design, but the coloring and just, there were so many different, the more I looked at it, the more things there were to enjoy. So really impressively put together.
You fell down an internet rabbit hole in this book, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
The more you saw, the more you liked, and then you got deeper and deeper into it.
Yeah, just like that interview, it got crazy. It just kept getting,
There you go.
Yeah.
Like Eduardo says here in the comments, the amount of internet lingo in this episode of CBC makes me feel like I'm in a seminar and I didn't do the reading. No worries, we'll explain. YouTube is videos, TikTok is shorter YouTube.
Wait,
done.
Wow, that's
Nice. Good job, Grandpa.
No problem. Nailed it.
TikTok. Listen up, rest of the retirement home.
I've got this one.
I talked to my granddaughter, and she said, TikTok is shorter YouTube. And YouTube's like a TV show that happens on your laptop. Okay, well, it's time for pudding.
It's not time for pudding. It's time for my favorite section because you all make it up. It's your audience question.
Okay. Let's
And
do it.
in audience questions, you can ask us absolutely anything over on Crowdcast. Drop a question and ask a question on YouTube. Drop a question in the comments, and we will get to it that way. But before we do, let's do What You Drinking. I already talked about what I'm drinking. I got this Early Bird, which is making me very phlegmy with the grapefruit juice. I love it.
Oh, great. What a nice feature.
Yeah,
for you
that
to
got
talk
weird.
about.
I don't like it. But it's very tasty still.
Lovely.
what about
I
you
do
guys?
love grapefruit juice. I am drinking a beer by the name of Kingston Brewing Company Standard Pale Ale. Very good. Sort of a local brewery from in the sort of Dutchess County area. Really liking it.
Okay. That sounds some old-timey Dutchess County. I'm drinking an Arnie Palmer.
Ooh, Arnold Palmer, huh?
Yeah, it's summer started, man. You know what I mean? Like, let's have some fun.
Yeah, sounds good.
So what's your recipe for the Arnold Palmer, Pete?
You go half, not half, but you kind of go iced tea, lemonade, and then a lot of vodka.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. That's why I wanted you to share the recipe so people would get in your mindset. Because we actually heard before we started the show, we heard you mixing that. And it was really nice to hear that there's just the sort of symphony.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. It's a nice little kind of.
We got by the way, a clarification from Eduardo. He says it was more like e-girl and simp, etc.
Yes.
Justin, you're our youth correspondent. You want to take those ones?
True. I am the youngest member of Comic Book Club. E-girl wasn't E-boy it was in Riverdale in the chick.
Okay. All right. Who's the grandpa now?
Well, that's what I'm just trying to.
He's answering the question.
We've all talked about this before in various formats.
Yes, and simp is like a simpleton.
Oh. Thanks for spelling that out.
Wow. All right, Cypher. Way to really speak the language.
Yep, I know what I'm talking about. Definitely.
Now, by the way, that's how Cypher is Alex's favorite character of all time, obviously. And that is how I think he talks in every comic book.
Absolutely. This is from Kevin. As discussed today, comics can be very closely connected to their time. What are some of your favorite examples from decades gone by? Ooh, also, who's ready for a quiz question?
Interesting.
All right, we'll get to the second part in a second, but first, comics closely connected to their time. What are your favorite examples from decades gone by? I guess comics that were of their time.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, obviously every comic in the 90s syncs up to Third Eye Blind's first album.
Right.
That was very much of the time. It was it's hard to always do that, to write toward that, but they did every single time.
Yeah.
I do think 80s comics have, and this is maybe not quite accurate, but they always feel to me like they're just more heavy. The colors are darker. They're a little more heavy lines. And it feels like it speaks to the time of high tension, Cold War, everyone, the vibe of Watchmen, basically. Like everyone's worried the world's going to end. So everything's a little grittier.
I mean, this is the same sort of thing, and this is not exactly the answer to the question either, but, I can't think of 90s comics without thinking about, the Image Revolution and Rob Liefeld and big-chested, screaming people and pockets, yeah, exactly, and holographic covers and things like that, but of its time, I mean, this is very specific, but the Barack Obama shaking Spider-Man's hand, that's of its time.
That's nice. And let's not forget that pockets really became into their own in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time. Do you remember? I mean, we lived before that, so you remember pants didn't have pockets, and you'd go to put things in your pants, and they just fall straight down your legs.
That's right. What a disaster. Rob Liefeld saved our asses when it comes to holding stuff.
Yeah. But the trade-off was no more feet for anybody.
Yeah. Exactly. Makes a lot of sense.
So we had pockets, but
pockets for days, but
no going places.
Yeah.
Great. What a great would you rather to really explore. Would you rather have 100 pockets but no feet?
I feel like 100 pockets. That's an easy one. Would you rather have 100 pockets or no feet?
Imagine the pockets. You could put anything in there. Tiny anything.
Tiny anything.
On one side, you have too many pockets. On the other side, you have no feet. Very even, don't you think?
Hard choice.
You win again. The monkey's paw got me again.
Great. I think we answered that one. Tell you what, do we want to do Kevin's quiz question today?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to invite Kevin on the screen. We have been putting it off.
You're going to do it in the middle of audience questions?
We're going to do it in the middle of audience questions. Why not?
Okay.
Great.
We'll see what happens. I think Kevin is...
while Kevin is getting ready,
Should
maybe
we set
just
this up?
Yes. For the casual listener who might not know how deep this shit goes.
So the short version is Pete did a secret quiz, then I did a secret quiz, then Justin did a secret quiz, and now Kevin, one of our many wonderful audience members and supporters, has also created his own quiz, which is the hardest quiz of all time. Yeah. We have completed maybe half of it, if I'm being generous to ourselves, possibly like a tenth.
Like, no joke. Last time we did this, we spent 40 minutes and we got like 4 questions.
Kevin, it's great to see you, though. How are you doing?
Okay. I'm doing okay.
Glad to hear it.
Great. So where are we on this quiz? What's going on?
We are on question 7.
All right.
Out of 10?
12.
30.
12?
12. Yep.
Well, but the last one, remember, is the physical challenge question.
Yes. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
And let's remember, we will never get there. We will never get to that final question.
And I also had a few more puppets ready in case you want.
Well, don't just say that. I mean, let's grab one and see what happens.
Well, what I did was I got them into groups. So this group is my realistic Folkmanis animals.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
That's the maker.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Right.
So, but they're realistic
You've seen the
animals.
sloth before.
Yeah.
He's been on the show.
He's been on the
If I can describe that, it's like a nightmare. Yep.
Yeah, the otter.
Otter, obviously, just like
back in
Bobby.
2015, I actually got this
Oh
one.
my
for a
God,
sketch.
that's a nightmare.
Well, because
don't put that one on.
this, I was doing I was a regular at a sketch and improv show called BYOT, and one of the hosts of that, 1 week after the show, saw something interesting in the subway and took a video of it.
Ah, there we go.
So for the
Pizza Rat.
It was Pizza Rat. Matt Little
So-
is the guy that shot the video of Pizza Rat.
Oh, yeah.
And so for the next week, I did a sketch of Pizza Rat on Inside the Actors Studio.
Very fun.
And bring your own, what does the T stand for?
Team.
Gotcha.
And then I have the squirrel puppet doing Tippy Toe cosplay.
Nice.
Of course you do.
Nice.
All right.
and then I
Let's
just
do
got
this.
this
Oh,
one.
you also have the snow.
And let's not forget the snow owl.
Okay, let's get to this. We're going to get these questions. I know it.
Yep.
And if you want to
let's-
read them as the Snow Owl talks or however you want to do it, that's fine.
Don't
I'll
put
just
that on
read
his.
those myself.
Make it more complicated.
Okay.
And let's just say the focus of this quiz is 1970s television, something we have almost no knowledge on.
That's right.
Well, 70s television with a comics connection.
Exactly.
And this
Justin,
okay.
Justin, come on.
Yeah, even harder. Right.
This question is the one question in the quiz that I did not know about before putting it together.
Oh, great.
Okay, great. See you tomorrow.
It turned out, because we've talked a bit before about how in the 70s we had the animated Archie cartoons.
Yes.
Well, it turns out that in the 70s we had 2 live action Archie pilots
Okay.
that did not get picked up. So in 76, and it wasn't Filmation doing them, it was another company doing them, even though by 76, when the first one was done, Filmation had been doing live action shows for a couple of years. Another company did it, and it was just called Archie. It was a simple half-hour pilot. Didn't get picked up.
Mhm.
2 years later, the Archie cartoon goes off the air. So ABC contacted the makers of the pilot from 2 years earlier and asked for a second pilot,
Wow.
Okay.
which was a bit of a genre mashup, a very 70s genre mashup.
Okay. And the question is.
Okay, so
He's
the title
creeping up on it.
Okay.
The title of this show is the Archie blank 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 show. If you can work out the two genres being mashed up, you'll know the show.
What is it again?
The Archie blank 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 blank. So it's 4 blanks. 2 genres,
Archie.
4 blanks.
If we
Josie
mention
and the
individual
Pussycats.
words. Wait, what did you say,
Yeah.
Pete?
Archie, Josie, and the Pussycats. Is that in there?
No,
there's genres.
It's the 2 genres.
Yeah.
Good times, happy fun
Great
hour.
oldies. Yep.
Well, one of the genres,
Archie Bunker.
Both of them you should be able to guess. One of them is before Riverdale. What genre would you expect an Archie show to be?
Oh, murder fucking.
No, before Riverdale.
Before Riverdale. Teen fun, teen comedy,
Hamburger
musical variety.
You got comedy.
Comedy.
So you got one of the 4 blanks.
Music.
I'm gonna say,
that's the other genre.
so comedy and music
The
variety.
very 70s one. Now, what kind of comedy were shows?
Situational.
The Archie Situation Comedy Musical Variety Show.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, what a mess.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And
Archie.
Chick was the star of that, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
E-boy.
Chick wasn't in it.
Chick
Wait,
is never
Archie
the star.
musical variety
Sitcom.
situational
It would be
comedy.
short sitcom segments, musical numbers, and then host segments on like a set. So think like Donnie and Marie, but Archie doing it.
Huh.
That is crazy.
You can find it looks like a 17th generation VHS copy, but you can find it on YouTube.
All right.
I could not get too far into it just because, like I said, the video quality was terrible.
Well, I think we aced that question, though, Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. Now, I will say that they got the entire cast back. There were 3 people on it who you might recognize.
Real quick, is this the 8th question, or is this like sort of
No.
another
This
sub
is
question?
this is just like a fun fact.
Okay,
Oh,
we
nice.
can't get signed. All right.
Susan Blue, who became a voice actor and director, and I think her career is still going. Betty Cooper was played by Audrey Landers,
Okay.
who became very famous, probably most famous for being on Dallas as Afton
Yeah.
Cooper, no relation.
Okay.
Come on.
And then Archie's dad had another pilot in contention that season that got picked up by CBS and basically turned him from being one of those that guy actors into into a famous name, Gordon Jump, who that
Yes.
season got WKRP in Cincinnati.
Wow.
Ah, yeah. I mean, that's a show I've watched.
Yeah. So if this had got picked up, who knows if he would have been able to do both.
Oh, wow.
Would have killed W. And then what would I have watched once or twice in my life on a Sunday when I was 5?
Okay. Now,
Wait,
okay,
just
in that
real quick.
same vein-
You seem to be revving up for a new question, or is it more fun facts?
oh no, this is a new question.
Oh,
Okay, great.
All right.
So we're on to question 8.
Okay.
So
Right. I feel
in the
warmed up
late
based on that
70s.
last question. I feel very warm now. Very hot, even.
okay.
Sweaty, even.
Sweaty, thick.
Yeah. Thick?
Yeah. What are we talking about?
Let him talk. Let him talk.
So in the late 70s, Hanna-Barbera was doing a gear up toward getting into live action. And one of the examples of that was they did a pair of basically specials of their own, except instead of being 2 years apart, they were shot back to back and aired on consecutive weeks, of Legends of the Superheroes. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They are very much of their time in all the worst ways.
Okay.
The first one was basically an action adventure with the Justice League going up against the Legion of Doom. And the second episode was a roast.
Yes.
Yes. I remember this, actually. This one I actually
Yes.
know about. But whatever you're about to ask about, I definitely don't know about. But I know about this so far.
Okay.
Alex, it's easy. All you have to do is name the cameraman on camera B who shot the roast.
No,
Yeah.
this is going to be a lot easier than that.
It's B-Cam.
Okay. Now, the biggest names on it were Batman and Robin, of course.
Right.
Who, by the way, were played by Adam West and Burt Ward.
Wow.
They came back to do these specials. Besides them, there were 13 other characters between heroes and villains
Kevin.
who appeared in both.
Okay.
Just name any 3.
I need three. Batman.
Any three who appeared in both episodes of Legends of the Superheroes.
Oh, both episodes of that show. Now,
Batman.
Right.
Okay.
So there were, besides Batman and Robin, and I'll tell you right
Batman.
now, like I said, Batman was the biggest name, so there's no Superman or Wonder Woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Joker. Hawkman.
Yes.
Okay. Shazam.
Yes. Well, as Captain Marvel, but yes.
Right. And is it Isis or Ibis? His wife, his girlfriend.
Isis.
Wife. I don't wanna put a
remember
label on it.
the Secrets of Isis was one of Filmation's mid '70s shows.
Right.
So this was Hanna-Barbera, so they didn't have Isis.
Aquaman.
No. And that's your third strike.
What? What is that? There's no strikes.
Okay,
You didn't
here
tell
are
us
the
that in
answers.
advance.
Okay, here are the answers. Green Lantern, The Flash, Hawkman, whom you got, Black Canary, Captain Marvel / Shazam, whom you got, Huntress, Scarlet Cyclone, who was original to this and was also known as Retired Man. It was basically William Shatner doing his old man impression. Then the villains were Solomon Grundy, Weather Wizard, Sinestro, Giganta, Dr. Sivana, and Mordru.
Oh, I was this close to saying Mordru.
I should have said
That was
Mordru.
Yeah.
I know.
Riddler
right
was
there.
only in the first episode, and it was Frank Gorshin playing him. And the Atom was only in the second episode.
Okay.
Mm.
And there were a few other characters who were just in one episode, but they weren't like
Both.
DC characters.
All right. Well, it's a shame we hit all those strikes. We're gonna have to
we
take
ran
a
into
break
a
from the
bunch of strikes there. That was tough.
But it means we'll start next time with question 9.
All right.
All right,
Great
Kevin.
news.
Closer.
Thank you so much for
Oh.
coming on. This has been
Quick
wait.
CBC
Yes,
tie-in. This is the package that I just received.
Oh,
Wow.
Sabrina Clue.
Wow,
That's exciting.
That looks awesome.
When you're playing it, does it end right when it's starting to get really good and figure itself out?
Oh,
Alex,
if you do it right.
Too soon.
How dare
Too
you?
soon.
I'm so sorry,
Come on, that's a great
Kevin. It was
show.
great seeing you.
Love that
Thank you
show.
for coming on.
Kevin, great to see you.
Yes.
All right,
Kevin,
see you
looking
next time,
good.
and I'll have new puppets.
All right,
can't
sounds
wait.
good.
I would never doubt it. See you in 5 months.
Kevin, everybody, that was amazing.
Come on, Kev is just.
That was good.
Just
All right.
truly, the detailed knowledge he has about all that stuff is shocking.
Yes.
Plus,
Impressive.
I
one
poured
time he
myself another
sat.
drink.
I
Great,
see.
good for you.
Different.
One time
It's a
when he was,
Martinez. I've been getting very into Martinez's.
Yeah.
I looked in the audience and he had the puppet the whole time, and he was working the puppet throughout the whole show, and it was kind of magical.
Excuse me, Pete. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about one time when I looked in the audience and Kevin wasn't there; it was just a puppet.
I got you.
Gotcha. This is from Ramsey over on YouTube. Super interested to see how Why the Last Man TV show updates the comics' very dated gender and race politics. Obviously, we've seen barely any footage from the show at this point, but what do you think? How much are they going to tackle that? How much are they going to change from the comic book?
I mean, I think they have to. I think they'll change a lot of it, and I think they have to. That comic went at those issues sort of very specifically. It just, the take was of its day, sort of almost immediately outdated. So I do think it's sort of inherent to the source material, and I think they have to cover all of that.
Yeah. This is from Eduardo over on Crowdcast. Do you find you ever got through genre preference periods of times for comics? If so, what have you been especially into lately?
Meaning, like rereading comics from a specific.
Either from a specific, I guess we could say either from a specific real world time period, or if you're like, I'm super into Victorian era comic books.
Okay.
I'm not saying I am. I'm saying
It seems
Cool.
like you had that at the ready.
Seems like you were ready to
I
say
mean,
that.
I don't love it at all. It's just exclusively what I read.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
You just get through that stuff first.
I mean,
I feel like. Go,
ahead.
you go, Pete. You
I
go.
was going to say, I like to, when I need a little bit of dose of a nostalgia, I'll pick up the old Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it takes me back to a happier place,
Nice.
Your youth.
Yeah.
That's great. Maybe that's a great thing to tuck in your bag when you go do whatever you're doing the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you know what's cool is when you share things with close friends and then they use it against you. I think that's an awesome trait. I think that's the definition of what friendship is, right?
I'm just giving you a good piece of advice.
Yeah, my piece of advice is if you have friends, don't put them on a podcast and do it with yours because they'll use all your shit against you.
It's not using you against you. It's paying tribute to the many wonderful things that are happening in your life, Pete.
I hope you die.
Pete, you're our Willy Wonka.
Jesus Christ.
That's not the first or last time he said that to either.
I'll tell you what, Pete, you've been like on edge and like super rough the past 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to need you to take some sort of spa vacation.
That's right.
In the mountains, just for like almost a week, starting on the 30th. If you could start your treatments at exactly 3 p.m. and not be late, that would be really great.
That's very, very specific response to that question, Alex. And I love it. That's the improv training.
That's my favorite time period is June 30th at 3 p.m. when he gets his spa treatment.
I'm going to throw out there, I've been really into some sort of like 70s. We've talked about it. 70s vibe comics where it's like it's a little grungy. It's a little it's a lot of crime, just very like people on the run. Those kind of comics, I've been very excited to the ones that have found their way into our stack.
I mean, similar and maybe working off of the same comics, but I think like a late 60s, early 70s psychedelic comic, I feel like visually I'm very drawn to that sort of thing. Artists have a lot of fun with it. I'm thinking of a lot of Rick Remender stuff in particular. Scumbag, yeah. But it's good. It's fun to read, something like that. Pete, you have any answers before we move on?
Yeah, I said the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, motherfucker.
Oh, okay, sorry. This is from Stray Bullets. Since it's Pride Month, who do you think are some of the best represented LGBTQ characters in comics today? Who are your favorites? I am a big fan of Midnighter. It's also not lost on me that we're a bunch of cis white dudes. Yes,
good.
Absolutely. That is true.
That is true.
Favorite LGBTQ plus characters for Pride Month?
I mean, Midnighter is the first one that came to mind to me especially because I've been loving the backups that we've been reading, and then I don't love the way that Iceman has been portrayed, and it feels like something they sort of botched in the way they did that. So that's one that I sort of want to be better. I want that to be explored more and sort of defined in a way that we can actually get a handle on the character, because I feel like it just wasn't
I think
done in a careful way.
Early takes on it, we're not going to do things. Cinna Grace did a good job of realigning Iceman and figuring out how to get to work as an actual gay character versus forcing it in there. We've talked about this incessantly on the show, and this is very side to the question, but whenever anybody asks us this question, my mind immediately goes to reading that issue of Alpha Flight where North Star came out, which is like getting hit over the head with a blunt object. It needed to happen, I guess, to sort of like peel off that Band-Aid very quickly. But I don't know necessarily that mainstream comics have gotten better about it all the time. Like Brett mentioned, Midnighter and Apollo are great. They're really good. There have been some other really good characters, but often it feels like even now, these characters, the major thing about them is their sexuality. That they're like, hello, I am a gay character first, I am whatever else second. A couple of people in the comments are mentioning Joe from Far Sector, which, is
amazing.
Great. And N.K. Jemisin has been a fantastic job of writing her. So there's definitely been steps forward there. But for a lot of it, for the better stuff, I think you need to go not to necessarily Marvel or DC for superhero characters, but for more authentic stories elsewhere.
There's some good... Batwoman, I thought, was done pretty well for a while there, where it wasn't the central focus, but it was just an aspect of her character.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that, like, for me, Midnight and Apollo is one of my favorite couples is just because love is love, and they fight really hard for each other, and it's beautiful regardless of what you're into or who you're into. So that, to me, is what is done really well. But right now we're reading a book and I'm completely blanking on the name, but it's kind of like it's not ElfQuest, but it's really like animated in a way, and there's like a great couple in there who do a good job of fighting for each other and giving each other space in their lives, and I think a really good way. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like oh my god,
are you thinking of Wind?
Yes, Wind. Thank you.
Yeah, Wind does have some really good representation in there. The other one recently from DC, Crushin' Lobo, I thought that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That was sweet and fun as well. So yeah, I don't know. Like Stray Bullet mentions in here, the best part of Jo is that her sexuality was background to her character and managed to blend it in seamlessly. It's just part of who she is without exploiting it. And I agree. Like, it's been a long time coming. I do think DC is trying really hard this month to do the right thing, which I think is great. And we'll see if it sticks potentially. But, you know, it's good to see those step forward because the comic industry is glacial, as we know. All right, let's move on. Nelson over on YouTube says, did you guys hear about Transformers 7 Rise of Beasts? Hinting at a Beast Wars live action, perhaps. Can it work? What do you guys think? It's not so much hinting as, yes, that is exactly what they're doing. It is a
strong hint.
Yes.
Justin, you love the Beast Wars, right? That was your jam?
I love the Beast Wars TV series. I thought was great because it took something that was like, felt like a pitch for a toy line and added all this sort of like big philosophical information, and like the narrative was about them sort of trying to define what they were and what it means to be like an animal, a robot that becomes an animal. Like all that stuff was so heady. So yeah, I really love that. I don't know if that's going to work in the Transformers canon feature film world, but I'm here to, if they can draw on that, I'm here for it.
Pete?
Yeah, I cool. I thought Bumblebee was good.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're aiming to do the same sort of thing where it's not Michael Bay. They're doing it not out of continuity, not in continuity exactly, sort of as its own thing, is the idea. Apparently, a lot of the movie takes place in Brooklyn in 1994, which feels like a very very specific way to be like, how can we use Sabotage by the Beastie Boys specifically? No way but doing that, I guess. I don't know. I don't care about any of this stuff, but I guess if it's fun, I'll watch it. So that's fine.
Well, bottle that answer up and reply to anything.
I just can't emotionally get into Transformers. I've had fun watching some of the movies and stuff, but there's something about Transformers that like
more than meets the eye.
Are you worried because the robots are in disguise?
Like, why aren't they honest with me? That's what I want to know.
They're liars.
Yes.
Cars are cars. Cars should be cars. Robots should be robots.
Well, how do they eat? What do they eat? Where does that go? What's going on with that?
Gas. Alex, eat gas.
Energon cubes. Come on. What are you talking about?
Oh, so sorry. I've never seen a Transformers movie.
Oh, yeah, I love these Energon cubes. This is delicious. Thank you so much. I'm Optimus Prime.
But do they also have gas?
Yeah, do they take gas? Do they eat gas?
No.
Here's the thing that I do love. My favorite Transformers thing is the Transformers ride at Universal Studios.
Oh, here we go.
I love that so much. And my one quibble with that is at no point does any of the characters explain whether they eat gas or not.
Very specific.
Welcome to Transformers the Ride. Me, a gas-eating robot named Optimus Prime. Anyway, please sit down as you'll slowly ride up.
Optimus, give me your gas. I'm Megatron. I love to eat it.
This is a new low for us, I think.
This is a high. I'm a high on a high right now.
Wow, Pete, you have a lot of tension in your shoulders. Anything going on you want to talk about?
You're lucky we're not in the same fucking room right now, man.
I'm looking forward to you letting out 15 years of podcasts in the mountains somewhere. That's going to be great. This is now that vaccination rates are going up, has Pete had a chance to explore Philadelphia comic stores yet? If so, what is his impression of the Philadelphia comic scene so far?
Yes, Pete. Give us the
I gotta
beat
do
on the
that.
beat.
I
Street
gotta
beat.
do that. I've been prioritizing cheesesteaks and not comic books, so I need to switch gears for sure. Yeah.
To be fair, I've been really enjoying the continuity in cheesesteaks lately.
Yes, ironclad.
They had a crossover event with hamburgers that was wild.
Yeah,
sounds too much.
Sounds too much. Yeah, one cheesesteak is technically too much for a human.
Have you? I mean, I haven't been to a physical comic book store other than I think we talked about it in like. Whenever Here's Negan came out was the last time I've been to a physical comic book store because I went in and it was a terrifying experience. Justin, have you been back at all?
I have not. And it's funny. I'm like, I sort of forgot to do that. I want to go. Yeah. I need to go.
Yeah.
I also just haven't been into Manhattan hardly at all.
They have comic book shops in Brooklyn too, just so you know.
Well, but I usually go to Midtown Comics because they've been nice enough to sponsor the show.
Nice.
Yes. I mean, we will be back there soon because we're going to pick up some gift cards for you all for trivia. So I'm excited to head back and look at comics in person. This is from Jay Sinison. I know Batman should really never kill, but why does he care if people in the DCU think he's killed? Oh, I see. What that means.
He's all about the reputation.
Yeah. Why do you think he cares about other people?
Well, I think there are two answers to that question. One, a comic book answer, and one like maybe we were Batman or if Batman were a real answer. The comic book answer is he has to keep that just loud and proud across the board. Like comic book heroes don't kill, so like no one can, and you can't cross that line because that's the line that we've established and occasionally crossed, and so many comic book stories are driven by that. Yeah. The real, I don't know if Batman were real and like if all he talked about was like I don't kill, I'd be like, sounds like you do kill, man.
You're protesting a little bit too much.
Yeah.
We got one last one here. This is from Scott Carpenter on YouTube. I've also always wondered how you guys used to record the Stack podcast. Was it at the Pit? Yes, this is the most boring thing I could probably bring up, but a lot of our are you ready?
Yeah.
A lot of our back catalog in the comic book club feed got lost when we moved over to the new platform with Minute Media. So I've been slowly trying to go back and upload the old episodes so that they're there, so that they're available. And I got to the point where we're doing live shows today. That's how slow I've been going with all of this stuff, which was...
Oh, I see. I thought you meant the original live shows. Like, no.
I'm only back through like... I'm not even done with 2020 at this point, just because it takes a while to recode everything. But I had completely forgotten what we used to do, if everybody actually wants to know, is we would get there at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
At 6 o'clock, we would tape the Stack, Week and Geek, usually some sort of like Riverdale or Stargirl or something like that podcast, right up until 7 o'clock when we had the show.
8?
No, 8. We would tape for 2 hours, truly down to like we have to go start the show now.
Yes,
I would get crazy worried.
Yeah, he would get stressed.
Yeah.
It was crazy because we were just so dedicated to being in person, and it's crazy how much that has changed, and we've been able to work it out. And that just flashes me back to leaving whatever job I had and racing from some other part of Manhattan, Midtown, and running for the subway, texting frantically, 5 away, definitely going to be there. Just absolute chaos.
I remember you showing up like a Tasmanian devil, and then when you stopped moving, it was always a bunch of comics and then a giant salad, and you would like eat furiously as you would page through the comics.
Yeah, Eduardo says, I remember that there used to be all these cryptic cross references between the podcasts as they weren't released in the same order they were recorded. I hate to tell you that still happens.
Yeah, we've really moved past that as a creative force.
Yes. Wait, I do have a question for you guys, though, and I wouldn't remember this except for the fact that I was putting this stuff up today. Who do you think the guest was on our last live show before we shut down for pandemic? I feel like Kevin right now.
Langston.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Good guess.
It was
Yes.
Langston. Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. The last, and I think it was just me and Justin there for some reason. You were not there, Pete.
Yeah.
It was just Langston. The show before that, the last one that all three of us was at, was Hurricane Helms before that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I remember that because one of the last things I did before pandemic started was go to the Barclays Center with you two and drink giant beers.
Yeah. That was
great.
fun.
Super spreaders.
All right, folks, we are going to move on. I wish you hadn't said that. To our next section, which is trivia. For that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right. This is the
And
part.
Pete, can I mention something beforehand? Is that okay?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to do that.
Yeah. I'll mention
and then
it.
stopping me, and then you talked, and even though you said you were going to do this.
Yes.
Yeah, he did say I was going to turn it over to Pete LePage, and then he turned it right back over to Adam.
Right, exactly.
Pete, can you turn it back to me, please? So what we're going to do, we're going to try and do a new thing. This week, Pete is going to invite somebody on the show, but going forward, we have a Google form that you all can fill out to apply for a chance to do trivia. We're just going to book you in advance. It'll make it a little easier on us in terms of getting your information so we can get you the Midtown gift card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the Google form here in the comments section on YouTube and Crowdcast. We'll also tweet it out if you're listening to the podcast later at Comic Book Live. But fill it out. We would love to have you come on. It'll just sort of streamline things a little bit. But for the last time, Pete, do a first hand up guy.
All right. So this part we give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free in form of an online gift card to Midtown Comics. All we need is a first hand up or a, hey, I want to participate on the tube or the cast. And so, yeah.
This is great. I'm going to miss this.
And now that people are booking appointments, we'll have some real. We'll really get the people in here. We'll get some people from all over.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens.
Booking appointments.
If you're over on YouTube, just say me or hello or raise my hand or... Corey says, I'll do some trivias on YouTube. Corey, all right, you got it.
All right.
So there you go. So Corey, all you have to do, you're going to be on a little bit of a delay, but just type the answer in the comments, A, B, or C. Here we go, Pete.
All right, here we go. Today's trivia.
Oh, Pete, really quickly, I just wanted to say something. No, I didn't. Go ahead.
Today's trivia is on topical comic news and a small nod to the legend Peggy Lipton. Please listen to all three options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. There is a new horror comic called Human Remains, where the monsters hunt humans by their blank. Is it A, by their smell? Or is it B, by their emotions? Pick B. Or is it C, Isaac Hayes? So it's either A, smell, which would make sense, or B, emotions, which seems harder to do, but is actually the correct answer.
Okay, so and now we wait.
Yeah, this horror comic scares the shit out of me because they say the stronger the emotions, the easier it is to find you and hunt you down. I would be dead in seconds.
You're dead, son.
Corey
also,
says B. Is it
nice.
B is correct.
Yeah.
Great job. Also, the shouting, Pete. You'd be easy to hunt because of the shouting.
Yeah, that's also true. Here we go. Question number 2. In the new DC comic book, Black and Gold #1, who does Wonder Woman visit? Is it A, her mom? Is it B, Justin's mom? Or is it C, John Witherspoon? So it's either A, which is the only one that makes sense, or you could pick B and upset Justin.
Here's the thing that you don't know is Wonder Woman and I share a mom.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Oh,
That's why you always have like these things on your wrists all the time.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Ting
Look at
ting.
you. Yeah. You're the hippie version of Wonder Man.
That's right. I'm Wonder Man. I was made out of clay.
What was his name? What was that character's name?
The Wonder Man?
Yeah. Her brother
From
that
Marvel?
No. Oh, A?
A is correct.
Oh, okay.
A
Nice
is
job, Corey. Here we
correct.
go.
Nice
Last
job.
one. Here we go. Newsarama did a poll for Marvel's best story of all time. What was number 1? Was it A, Civil War? Is it B, Infinity Gauntlet? Or is it C, Chris Rock? So it's either A, Civil War, don't pick it, or it's B, Infinity Gauntlet.
Of course. I'm glad that checks out because that's the one. I mean, I hope it's the right answer, but we'll never know.
While we're waiting for Corey, is your secret quiz about I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker?
That's right. That is correct. The 1998 cult classic, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Alex, I don't know if we often answer the secret quiz before we answer the regular quiz, but I like your economy of time.
That's what I'm trying to do, man. Just trying to fill
Tighten it
time
up.
until we die.
Well, let me say my pick for next week's comics.
B. Does Corey say B?
B
Corey
is
says B.
correct. Yes.
All right. Corey, congratulations. Shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. We will get you a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. As a reminder, if anybody does want to do trivia, if you think you're going to be here at any point in the future, we have a Google form that we dropped in the comments here on Crowdcast and YouTube, or we will tweet it out. Fill it out. We would love to have you on for trivia. We'll just
sign up.
Book you. Sign up. There we go. Now, as we all know, comics coming out all the time. What are you looking forward to, Pete?
Oh, I tell you, a lot of great stuff coming out tomorrow. But the one I'm very excited to talk about is Something is Killing the Children number 17, as well as Homesick Pilots number 6.
Don't take my shit. You know that's been the book I've been championing.
Took shit to another fucking level in that comic, and it's unbelievable.
What about you, Justin?
I am going to give it up for Fantastic Four, Life Story 2, the 70s. It's a theme for today's show, the 1970s. Written by Mark Russell. And really, Marvel's been doing this, not a series, but this sort of format of a book where they take characters and sort of run them through the decades. The Spider-Man that I think Chip Zdarsky wrote, Spider-Man Through the Decades. Very cool. You get to see your character sort of age up. And this one really liking this and the way they push some of the Fantastic Four story points that you know about, but you never see them go all the way with. That's all I'll say, so I don't spoil it, but I am excited about this book.
I knew you would be. And I'm glad they tackled some of the issues, but it's heartbreaking ending.
Well, we don't know that because it comes
we don't
out
know
tomorrow.
that yet.
It hasn't come out yet,
and also it hasn't ended yet. For sure that.
I'm looking forward to Stray Dogs number 5 from Image Comics. We have been hurt and terrified and into this incredible Don Bluth meets murder mystery about dogs series. It's wrapping up with issue 5 tomorrow. So, well, we don't know that yet, Pete.
We don't know that. No, we don't.
I love that Eduardo earlier in the podcast was like, man, you guys used to do stuff out of order all the time.
Yeah.
And now
we've really figured that out.
We've about the last issue.
We've really grown up.
Not this issue.
I'm looking forward to that. And folks, I'll tell you what, that is it for this week's show. Couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Dave Baker and Nicole Goux for being on the show. Check out Everyone is Tulip, coming out June 30th from Dark Horse. Next week on the show, we're going to have Jordan Morris is going to be here talking about Bubble, the graphic novel comic book adaptation of his hit podcast. Also, Ram Z is going to be here to talk about Story Worlds. A couple of other things that we want to plug. Candyman, a Sweet Tooth podcast, has wrapped up for the season, but we have a bunch of great interviews for you guys that I believe we mentioned before. Jim Bickle, the showrunner, and Burrell, the EP of Team Downey, also came on. Great interviews. Definitely check them out. Had a really good time talking to them. Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast, is in its own dedicated feed, recapping Loki. We got the first 2 episodes up already. Go check that out, as well as plenty more things there. Also, we had a special episode of Star Guys, a Stargirl podcast, talking about the season 2 trailer. That's up that you can check that out. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support this show. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen. At Comic Book Live on Twitter, Comic Book Club Live on Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, 3, 2, 1, good night.
Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves.